The UFC returns to St. Louis this weekend for the first time in over 6 years. Last time around, they brought a featherweight main event where Jeremy Stephens knocked out everybody's favorite prospect from Korea at that time, Doo-Ho Choi, the Korean Superboy. But this time around, they rely on the heavyweights to try to sell some tickets here, as we have Derek the Black Beast Lewis takes on Streakin' Rodrigo Nascimento. Very solid card all around. A lot of closer fights in terms of odds compared to what we're normally able to see on the UFC. So there should be some competitive fights here. And hopefully there are plenty of money-making opportunities on this spot. Now, a quick reminder, this is the quick picks version of the UFC St. Louis full card breakdown. If you're looking for in-depth breakdowns, you guys can either hit the link that I have in the description below or hit the banner at the top that you see on the YouTube video if you're watching over there on YouTube. I go close to an hour on the full card, giving an in-depth breakdown on every single fighter and then why I think each fighter wins. This one, it's strictly getting right to the point, getting it done as close to 10 minutes or less as possible for you guys. So if that's what you're here for, enjoy the show as well. Just a quick reminder, we have KSW and PFL going down this weekend. If you're looking for breakdowns for those, I'll have written ones on the Lock of the Night Patreon page. Check the link in the description below for that. And then lastly, if you're looking to do your own researching and want to make it quick and efficient and very easy, the best way to do so is utilizing the MMA Fight Archive, where we have over 3,600 fighter profiles for you to go through and get direct links to past fights for all of these competitors. It's going to come in handy, especially if you're looking to research Road to UFC, which goes down next week, not to mention all the other 16 promotions or 17 promotions in total that we cover on the platform. There's a reason there's over 70 subscribers on this platform right now, which range from the top handicappers, gamblers, analysts, coaches, commentators, and fighters. You can utilize it for free for 7 days with a 7-day free trial. Check the link in the description below. That is the MMA Fight Archive. All right. I hope you are laced up and ready to go, because we're off and running with the first fight of the night, which comes in the form of JJ Aldrich going up against Veronica Hardy. This is a fight between two strikers with different styles, and I ultimately think it's going to be Veronica Hardy's mobile Taekwondo perpetual motion style that's going to cause Aldrich a lot of problems here. Look for Hardy to move very well laterally, utilizing her kicks from distance and then crashing the pocket with her speed and combination strikes through the first two rounds to eventually cruise and win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got Jared Gooden going up against Kevin Jousset. Jousset coming from a judo background, but has picked up the kickboxing chops very well, especially with his work down there at City Kickboxing in New Zealand. And you can see how well he works behind his jab, utilizing that calf kick as well, but staying very patient and disciplined throughout the course of his fights. And I think he'll do a great job in terms of staying away from the big power of Jared Gooden here and utilizing his striking advantage and maybe even throwing in some judo. But I expect Jousset to put together a good body of work to win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got Charles Johnson going up against Jake Hadley. Johnson has made some solid improvements in terms of not getting stuck in bad positions, but I think he's going to get stuck in bad positions here against the guy in Jake Hadley, who does a great job in terms of mixing his striking and grappling. I think we saw Johnson snap his 3-fight losing streak last time around due to his opponent Azad Maxim losing confidence and motivation as his takedown approach was not working effectively. But Hadley has a cardio advantage here, or at least cardio advantage over Azad Maxim, which should allow him to go out there, grind this fight out, get some striking in, get some grappling in, but keep Johnson in a defensive position for the most of this matchup, and expect him to win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got Billy Goff going up against Trey Waters. Billy Goff, one of the more entertaining prospects coming off the Contender Series. This guy has a hellacious chin and a very good durability and grit game, which will allow him to push the taller and longer Waters up against the cage, grind on him, take him down, and maybe smash him from that top position. But I think it's going to be the aggressive pressure approach from Billy Goff that's going to keep Trey Waters on the defensive, and that will eventually open up a finishing opportunity for Goff in the second or third round. Next up, we got Tabitha Ricci going up against the returning Tisha Pennington. Ricci has definitely been one of the better prospects that we have on the roster. She had her 4-fight winning streak snapped last time around against Lupita Godinez, but she's going up against a very tough Tisha formerly Torres, but now coming in as Pennington, as she recently married bantamweight champion Raquel Pennington. She showcases a solid all-around game. She's fast with the hands. She has a good grappling game as well, and I think she'll utilize it defensively here to keep this fight standing, where she should be able to use her better movement, footwork, and striking combinations to touch up Tabitha Ricci and win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got Terrence McKinney going up against Esteban Ribovics. For sure, I expect this fight to finish under 1.5, as been the theme with most of Terrence McKinney's fights, but I think that his explosiveness, speed, and grappling edge early in this matchup will put Ribovics in some very compromising positions, which will eventually allow McKinney to grind out Ribovics and eventually find that finish near the ending of the first round. If he's unable to get him out of there, Ribovics will surely take over, and once he smells blood, he'll look to get McKinney out of there, but I'm going to side with the former result here, as I think McKinney gets that takedown and eventually finds a submission in round 1. Next up, we got Chase Hooper going up against Vyacheslav Borshchev, a true striker versus grappler matchup here. I've seen polarizing sides on both of these fighters, but I do have to lean with the striker here, as I think Borshchev will do a good enough job in terms of keeping this fight upright, where he will be the more dangerous opponent and will likely provide more finishing threats considering the knockout power that he has. I expect him to deal with a little bit of adversity early here, but I expect him to eventually really put the pressure on Hooper and eventually find that knockout. I'm going to call it round 2 or round 3. Next up, we got a heavyweight battle here between Waldo Cortes-Acosta and Robelis Despaigne. Very intriguing matchup here, but I ultimately think Despaigne is going to utilize his speed, length, and power advantage over Cortes-Acosta, and that should give us another Despaigne early finish. It's kind of hard to get on the train at minus 220 considering some of the unknowns that we have about Despaigne, but I fully expect his speed and athleticism to be the difference maker here, allowing him to find the chin of Cortes-Acosta and putting him away swiftly. Next up, we got Alex Caceres going up against Sean Woodson. Woodson is on a bit of a streak right now, and I think that his tall, lanky boxing style has proved very difficult for a lot of opponents, specifically last time around against Charles Jourdain, who has somewhat of a similar style to Alex Caceres in terms of the unorthodox striking approach that they'd like to implement. Caceres could provide some decent opposition and resistance if he tries to get his jiu-jitsu game going, but I think Woodson has showcased a good enough takedown defense game and his ability to establish his range with his footwork and his jab, and that's going to cause Caceres too many issues here, allowing Woodson to chip his way to a decision victory. Next up, we got Diego Ferreira going up against Matthias Rebecki. Rebecki has been running through his competition as of late, racking up 16 straight victories, and I expect him to do so against his most tenured veteran opponent to date in Diego Ferreira. Rebecki is very good in terms of dragging his opponents to the ground and smashing them from that top position, but I think Ferreira will provide enough resistance that this fight will likely go to the judges' scorecards, but I think Rebecki's aggressiveness and strength advantage here, as well as his high-level jiu-jitsu game, will allow him to maintain top control and grind this fight out, winning it on the scorecards. Next up, we got Alonzo Menifield going up against Carlos Ulberg. Menifield obviously has a giant power advantage in most of his matchups, and even though he was losing about 90% of his last fight, the fact that he managed to get knockdowns in rounds 2 and round 3 allowed him to still win that decision over Jacoby. However, I expect Ulberg's style to be a little bit more conservative and more effective than Jacoby, allowing Ulberg to dance around at distance, utilize his lateral movement well, jab up Alonzo Menifield, and then eventually win this fight on the scorecards. Co-main event time here, as we have St. Louis's own Joaquin Buckley going up against Nursultan Ruziboev. Both of these guys competed on the UFC Atlantic City card at the ending of March and are looking for a quick turnaround here, but I expect Buckley's crashing the pocket style to cause Ruziboev a lot of issues. Ruziboev will be very, very tall and lanky for this welterweight division, a division in which he is debuting in the UFC, but I think Buckley has accrued a lot of good experience, and I think he'll have a great process in terms of getting in to the pocket against Ruziboev and utilizing his big power to eventually find a knockout. And the main event here, we have Derek the Black Beast Lewis going up against Rodrigo Nascimento. Lewis is always a threat with the big finishing power that he has, but I expect Nascimento to showcase a much better overall game here, and I think he'll utilize his educated striking approach to eventually set up that takedown and do big work from on top, where I think he'll eventually be able to secure a submission over Derek Lewis. Look for Nascimento to secure a submission victory within the first 2 rounds of this matchup. There you guys go. Quick picks for UFC St. Louis. Reminder, there are 2 other MMA events going down this weekend, which I'll have breakdowns for in written format in the Lock of the Night Patreon page. Check the link in the description below. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow for the Locky Trinity / Locky 2-step free parlay, as well as the 3 best prop bets for UFC St. Louis. Appreciate all the love. Appreciate all the support. Hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Peace.